What's the setup then, Beach?
Just have a quick look. Well, James is just going to talk us through this dyno and then some comparison dynos.
Yes. Having just dynoed the 959 Panigale from Ducati. This area here at 5,000 RPM on full throttle, this is where the airbox valve is opening up. I can hear the airbox valve, I can feel it, it's opening. So we're getting a dip as the air speed changes going into the airbox, and then it starts to climb 8 horsepower. But the exit valve in the exhaust pipe is not fully open, and that's where this dip takes place, both in power and torque. And subsequently you can see that as a clean dip here at around 7,000 to 7,250. It starts to dip off and come back in, and it's literally like a kick. You can feel it like a kick. But yeah, I think it's probably got very much potential as a bike with full system on, airbox mods and so forth. But you'd have to get it on, take it apart, have a look at it. But most definitely this part here, but the power, very nice drive once it's all wide open. You know, it's clean all the way to the top, 132 here today. It's a bit of a damp, horrible day. Dining room's a little bit warm, but it's a good average. I should imagine on another day with a little bit lighter air,
might get a little bit more.
Might get a little bit more.
Cool. Okay. Right.
But the one thing I was thinking about was the limiter. It's a very soft rev limiter. It's not a harsh limiter at all. So it comes in. It makes me think that I wonder if there's the capability to further push this maximum RPM.
Okay.
Because normally, if manufacturers got an RPM issue, they will put a hard limit into it. And this will go through its normal limit, but it's a soft limiter, so it like staggers the spark.
Right. Gotcha.
Worth
investigating
that. I think it's got some investigational work to do. There's more to come from this bike, but
it's all right.
It's all right. But you go back 10 years.
Yeah. Well, we could do that, can't we?
Yeah.
If you can we have a look at this versus 899, please?
Yeah, it had problems with pickup, or it was not revving off.
Okay.
But you look at it, if you use it as a datum, it's actually not really got any more torque, this bike, against the old bike. Right, yeah, it's got more peak horsepower, but that may be because we're lobbing off on our top here a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. We might have had a broken connector, but if you look at the draw here, this area here, if we take the torque off and just flick it back to power, and we draw and we go back to here, and we draw this line here between 3.5 to 5.5. We've got a 10 horsepower deficit
on the old bike.
This has a 10 horsepower on the old bike.
Wow.
That's a lot. That is a lot of horsepower.
Could that be to make this just a lot friendlier at
Yeah,
slower speeds?
yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. That's the idea with the airbox valve and the exhaust valve. They're flattening everything off. Obviously, they've increased throttle body size, changed some cam timing and so forth.
To make it easier to ride.
Make it easier to ride. Because these big twins, once you get to the size of butterfly cross section that they're using, become very stagnant low down. You've got air not moving very fast low down, so the RPM picks up. It's a compromise all the time. You know, you don't buy this bike to ride it at 4,500 RPM.
No.
But they have to make it so you can ride it at 4,500 RPM. Otherwise, they're never going to sell for the roads.
No, very true. Very true. Okay, and can we now have a look at 959 versus 999?
999 trounces it torque-wise, absolutely beats it to death with 100 Newton meters against the 87. Trounces it all the way to mid-range. This just revs on further, so it makes more horsepower peak.
Wow. Well, that is. I mean, the difference in torque.
Look at that.
The difference in torque is.
That's your power between the two. And if you take a happy medium, 7,000 RPM is a good happy medium. This is 71. The 999 was 93.
And what's it in torque then? What's the torque difference at
Well,
a
at
happy
the same
medium?
point, happy medium, yeah, at 20 Newton meters.
Wow. But that's the difference in philosophy, isn't it? Because these new twins are all about revs
Yeah.
and top end power and revs.
If you think the throttle body on this it's an oval section throttle body, and it has a cross section which would equate to something in the region of 62 mil circumference.
Mhm.
If you measure it out. Now, the 999 had a 54 mil throttle body, a round one. Okay, so the velocity through that throttle body at lower RPM is going to be greater than this bike, and that's why this has valves in it to try and just contain it a little bit,
Right.
and try and keep that airspeed up going into the engine.
Wow. So even though the technology of the engine's moved forwards, though, in a strange kind of way, the old one is more wholesome.
But
isn't it?
also, 10 years time, we're now in a situation where the rules have changed to put a production bike out on the roads.
Yeah.
You know, Ducati's done really well to get it to this point. It's not a case of let's just slam it out the same. I have no doubt, if you were to apply the same concepts of tuning to this as you would with a 999, it'd probably beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think you'd always be at a deficit low down.
Yeah, always. And that's the architecture of the engine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, this is a slightly bigger bore to stroke, so it wants a rev.
But otherwise, not bad.
No, just
Yeah.
get rid of the sack suspension, spend some money on some decent stuff, put some Öhlins gear into it, and we'll be away.
Available here.
Yes.
Awesome. Cheers, James.